When you're straightening a run of conveyor, the best way to do it is to use a masonry nylon string, like from Home Depot, like this string right here. For maybe $5 or something, you can get several hundred feet. You can roll it up in a figure 8 very tightly on a piece of wood dowel, and then you will never have a twisted string because you're putting opposite twist. Every time you twist it, you put an opposite twist in it, and then you can get it very tight. Don't go by how tight it feels, but rather try to get it as tight as 2 people can pull it while maybe a third person is tying it off. You can use some half hitches to get it tight. It's always nice to have a bolt to tie off to. Normally what we'll do is we'll tie off to a conveyor frame because we'll be straightening based off of the conveyor frame, but since this is a narrow belt sorter, we actually have to straighten it based off of the belt rail guides, so that's why we have the string lined up center between these little racer bearings. Now, after you've got it as tight as you possibly can, come to the middle of the conveyor. This is 200 feet in feed and discharge, and come to the middle of the conveyor where the greatest sag point will be with the string. And if it's still sagging to the point where it's touching the conveyor, you can sometimes use something to space it up, like something that has low friction like this socket. And then you can test, is it trustworthy? Does it always move to the center? If I move this, see, it still has some delay, so you can't trust it completely like that. And then, or if I move it by hand, does it always go back to the same spot? It's pretty close, but if you don't think you can trust it fully, you can just kind of flick it a little bit to help it overcome that static friction as you're walking up and down the conveyor. And at every support, you'll walk along, you'll stand at this support, and all your assembly hardware is still loose at this point, just hand tight. And then you'll straighten the conveyor based on that string. Like here, the conveyor would have to move that way a little bit. And of course, you would have to first make sure that each end of the conveyor that your string is tied to is in the correct place. You've got that support centered on your chalk line, and then you've got that string centered on either the conveyor frame or, in this case, the belt rail. So for example, at this end, we've already centered it. We put a laser up and centered the center of that bed off of that chalk line we have on the ground. And then we put some Sharpie marks on the side of the feet to just double check it real quick. Here I think it's off a little bit, so let me come over. Yep, there is our Sharpie line, and now that is where it needs to be. And then at this end, the string is in the center of that belt rail. Now we're ready to go straighten all this. You can see it's pretty crooked right now.